All right, thanks for joining us this afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started with Coach Johnson. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll start with Brian Savick.
Yeah, how's it going, Coach? So a sweep against USC marked your guys' fifth straight Pac-12 series win. So where would you say this team's confidence is right now? What has impressed you the most during this stretch?
Yeah, I think in terms of the confidence, I think it's very high. I think it's very high in regard to they understand what it takes to be successful and the continued commitment to those things throughout the week to be prepared to play on the weekend. And I think they believe in their talent, but I think they believe in each other in terms of their reliability to do what is necessary to put us in a good position to be successful on the weekend. So I think they draw a lot of confidence from that.
Next question, Michael Lev.
Hi, Jay.
Hey, Michael.
What is the story behind the recruitment of Chase Silsa?
Yeah, Chase was a guy that, when Tennessee jumped in and got him in high school, I felt like, we probably missed there. You could see his arm strength and his talent, and good job by them. You know what I mean? To get him out of high school. And then when you circle back to to College of Southern Nevada, we have really good connections in that program. Mike Eschraw, the recruiting coordinator, was my second baseman at Point Loma Nazarene in 2004 on a World Series team. Coach Gidge, the pitching coach, is good friends with Coach Yeski. We're both friends with Coach Garitano, the head coach, and they are very aware of what an Arizona player / pitcher looks like, and they said you need to get on this guy, and we started building a rapport over the phone. I flew out there to watch him pitch last fall, and then the following weekend we had him on a campus visit and made him a significant priority to last year's recruiting class. And we're really happy that he's here, and it's well documented of why he is successful, in terms of he's a great pitcher with great stuff, but the competitiveness that he has, the drive that he has is unique. It's something you need in a Friday starter in the Pac-12, and he's provided us all of those things.
Was there a certain point during fall workouts when you realized, hey, this is the guy who should serve in that role to be the first starter in each series?
Well, I think, and I've mentioned this before, so I don't want to be redundant, but in September, we had some very high level, conditioning things that maybe we hadn't done before, that he always won. He was the first guy to the line in every sprint / agility drill. And then as the workouts that were pretty intense, continued to raise in intensity and in duration, he kept winning. And that was kind of the first thing that stood out to me. And then when we started into our inter squad phase, I did feel like we were going to have a good offensive team again. And I mean, all but one outing in the fall, he shut our team down pretty good. You know what I mean? And you could see the competitiveness come through in that regard. And so it's so hard to get that match of internal character, competitiveness, desire to win with the pitchability that Chase has. And I think that's what separates him and sets him apart.
Next question, Greg Hansen.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, Greg.
I was just wondering, in your recruiting evaluations of Barry and Susak, could you have imagined they could hit with this much power, 20 home runs combined in their first season?
Greg, that's a good question. And my answer would be, it's hard to get guys with that kind of power to college baseball and through the draft. What you have to have is a commitment by the player and the family that the college path is important to them. And in Jacob's case and in Daniel's case, they have great parents, very good family structure, valued education, valued this time in their development. So it started there. We felt like we had a good chance to get them through the draft, and both of them, turned down opportunities for professional baseball. And you can see why with that special power. I think what's impressed me the most, in Jacob's regard, is his steadiness. He has a maturity about him that exceeds most freshmen. And I think you could say, and maybe in a little different way, Daniel is the same way. So they both come from really strong backgrounds, and then their physical talent is easy to see. I think what's impressed me is they seem more along the lines of a sophomore, junior, or senior in terms of how they carry themselves, in terms of their at-bats and their maturity. Because there's really good freshmen all over the Pac-12 in the country with a 5-round draft. I think these guys are just different cats in terms of their readiness to do this at a high level.
Have you seen as the season has progressed that the Pac-12 coaching staffs have a different book on how to pitch to them?
I just think they've handled it, because I think, and what I mean by that is if they've stayed within what they need to do to be successful in terms of managing their timing, managing their strike zone, and managing their at-bats. And they're very tough to get out. They're not very pitchable. And so you can't just get them out one way. And their discipline and their maturity puts the pressure on the pitcher. And that's the best thing about both of them.
Thank you, Jay.
Next question, Brian Savick.
Coach, you guys are top 10 in almost every offensive category in the nation. Just like, how fun is it as a manager seeing this line of full professional hitters go to work every day knowing that there's a really good chance they're going to post 10 hits or more each game?
You know, I think the cool part about it is I know it doesn't happen by accident. You know, you mentioned the first thing is they're all talented. I think every single one of them could be a professional player. I don't think that's a stretch to be able to say that. So the talent, you start there, but then what they do on a daily basis, you know, is what separates them. And then the next part is the mental, we'll just call it toughness or consistency, to not just rely on the success. You know, this doesn't happen by accident. It happens by talent, preparation, mental toughness. They don't really get rattled by getting out, or maybe a bad game or a couple bad at bats, and do a really good job of staying present and then staying to their plan. You know, one of our biggest thing is making the pitcher adjust to us as opposed to us adjusting to the pitcher, and being rooted in a really good plan and approach. And I think they exemplify that. And I think I love the blend of it. And what I mean by that, we just talked about Daniel and Jacob. Those guys are talented. Those are as talented a guys as you can get in a Division I program. And then you look forward and you look at Brandon and Ryan. Those guys got a lot of playing time in 2019 and have really developed. And then you look at the 4-year players, which we don't always get, of Dante, Kobe, Jacob. Like they've been so ingrained in this system that I would feel comfortable in them being able to teach it and coach it themselves. And that's when you know you really have something. And so that's been really fun to watch that all kind of come together, because we've had great offense every year we've been here. I just really like the blend of talent, experience, and just usable skill that they bring to the field every day.
Next question, back to Michael.
Does being one of the first 4 teams out in 2018 and 19 ever serve as fuel or motivation for you? Or is it ever something that you bring up to the team when maybe you sense that they're being sluggish on a certain day or something to that effect?
No. I think the past is completely irrelevant to the present. This year more so than ever, because there was no last year. I mean, if I have any disappointment, it's last year. I believed we had an Omaha team in 2020, and so not getting a chance to go for that, that one stings a little bit. You know, relative to 19, the disappointment was how good we were playing at the end of the season. And what the only difference in this year and that year is, you know, we have real pitchers. I mean, and real winning type pitchers. There's no difference in the fabric, the foundation, the preparation, how we go about things on a daily basis. And that's why I've never really wavered in anything that we do or have done. But I just think that's only a thing if you make it a thing, and it's just not.
All right, well, I'll ask another sort of irrelevant question then. Regarding Utah, you've only beaten them in a series one time. during your time here, and even that series included that 21-10 loss on that Friday night that was bizarre in a lot of ways. Why do you think you guys have had so much trouble with the Utes?
Again, I think in 2016 they won the Pac-12 championship. I think in 2017 they were a top 60 RPI team that played really good that weekend. And I mean, other than that, we won 3 of the last 4 games against them. And again, like, the players on our team have so little to do with anything that has happened positively. I mean, none of them are here. We're here in 2016 when we were a base hit away from winning the national championship. None of them were here in 2017, when we were a top 15 team for the majority of the year. None of them were here in 2019 when we really had struggles on the mound. I mean, in terms of those pitchers. So I just don't think it carries any weight. And really, and I've talked about this before, when you attach anything to the task at hand, all you do is complicate the task. And we just are choosing not to do that. And this is just one of those cases. We're gonna have to play good to win. Any Pac-12 series that you play, the name on the chest is irrelevant. They got their chance to recruit good players, and they have good players and pro players on their team. So, I think outside of one weekend, they've won a game every weekend. So we're gonna have to play good to win. And if we don't play good, we're not going to win. So the focus always goes back to the play.
Next question back to Greg.
Jay, knowing how much you value analytics, you're on a pace to break into the top 10 all time in walks in the league. How valuable is that?
I think it's incredibly valuable on multiple fronts. I think when you look at it just from a production standpoint, being on base allows you the opportunity to score a run, and winning and losing is determined by scoring runs. So that in itself creates a huge value. I think the underlying thing that most people miss is if you don't swing at balls, you're not going to get yourself out. And now you're making the pitcher earn every out of the game. And we have a saying that a strike is better than an out. We have a saying that your bats are made by pitches that you don't swing at. And what I like about this team and this group of hitters is they really, really understand that. And you can see it in the types of at-bats that they take. And, occasionally one of them will get himself out on a borderline pitch. It might even be a strike. And they'll come to me and they'll say, like, that wasn't it, was it? And they already know the answer to the question before I answer it.
Are your freshmen good walkers?
Yeah, I think, and it's twofold. They're obviously really dangerous, so they have to be pitched carefully. So that just lends the pitcher to throwing balls. And then the other part is they've developed more plate discipline as they go. And I think they'll continue to get better throughout the season. I think they've gotten better throughout the season, and they'll get better throughout their career here. And, that happened with, Bobby Dahlbeck, it happened with Chris Bryant, and a lot of good hitters that I've coached is each year their plate discipline is better. Their timing is better. They get stronger, their swings get better. And I think in Jacob and Daniel's case, they've cut the learning curve because they're really talented and they're smart guys that work really hard.
Thank you.
Next question back to Brian.
Yeah, Coach. So despite Utah coming into the series only sporting a 10-23 record overall, is there any particular areas that they do well that could potentially pose problems for the team heading into this upcoming series?
Yeah, I think a couple things come to mind. Justin Kelly is a pro pitcher. Hadn't had a lot of luck, but he's got a really good arm. On Friday, Kyle Romanol, the Saturday starter, he's only walked 4 guys on the entire season. So he's a strike thrower. They have a reliever named Zach McCleve, who's kind of throws from a funky spot. Herdsman, excuse me, I don't want to mess up his first name. Was a transfer at Houston who we played the last couple years, has kind of a unique delivery. Watson has thrown good on Sundays for them, beat ASU last week. Our field lends itself to, you're going to get some hits on our field, so I just don't take anything and anybody for granted. I've been doing this long enough to know that you have to play well to win. And we've won a lot of series because we've continually played well. And when you don't play well, you're not going to win. Now, what I like about our team is they have the self-discipline to play through mistakes well at times and realize that there's no clock in baseball. I think it's not really about the opponent. It's about us playing a brand of baseball and complementary baseball to be the team that we want to be. And when we do that, we are going to be a very difficult game for any team in college baseball. And I really, really believe that.
Next question back to Michael.
Has anything changed regarding Preston's status?
Again, we had Monday off. He did not throw yesterday by design. So my hope is we are closer to getting him back on the mound. I don't know if that's this weekend or next. And we're going to do what we need to do. I know he felt better just, physically in terms of his rehab stuff yesterday than he has at any point since we have not pitched him. So
Would you say that you're going to take a conservative approach with him, given how important he is, and I don't know, sort of your status in the standings and how successful the team's been so far?
No, I think we're treating the injury the way it needs to be treated for him to get back to full health. There's nobody that wants to pitch on our team more than him. And there's nobody I want pitching at an end of the game on our team more than, or in a critical point in a game more than him. So there's a lot of motivation on everybody's part to get him back. However, we're going to stay the course at what's best for him and getting him healthy for the longest duration that we're going to play and for his, future. Cause I do believe he has a future in professional baseball.
Right. And, Coach Fish, throughout the first pitch the other night, have you ever had anyone put more preparation into throwing the first pitch than he did?
I got a chance to talk to him, which was great. But I was kind of locked in on Alex Cornwell, the starter for USC. So I actually didn't even see him throw the first pitch. But it's not surprising. I have great admiration for the things that he is doing right now. And I'm excited to see that take shape as they start to play games in the fall. But I think it's just, it's cool to see that he cared enough to come out here and put something into it.
We have time for two more questions. We'll go to Matt Moreno and then Greg Hansen. You'll finish this up.
At different times this season, you've mentioned how much the players are pulling for one another. It feels like that continues to be the case. What kind of impact has that mentality had on the success you guys have had this season?
Well, I think it was huge. I mean, this is the most players we've ever had because of the NCAA rules and expanded roster and COVID and all that. We have more than 9 starting players on our team. I think that there's no doubt about that. I mean, Nick McCleary, nobody's been more important to our success the last 4 to 5 weeks. And I don't think he had a start through 20 games or, maybe it was 25 games and stayed engaged, stayed ready, and has really, really lifted us. A guy like Tanner Otrimba, has started every game in 3 Pac-12 series that we've won, Mac Bingham in and out of the lineup. And there's no wavering in how these guys show up on a daily basis in terms of getting themselves ready to go. Pitching staff, same kind of thing. Randy Abshire was out not pitching for a while, has come in and collected, some outs. And so I think it says a lot about their character. And for me, and I mentioned this one other time, I think confident people have no problem in pulling for other people. It's like when there's some underlying insecurities and those kinds of things where you run into those problems. And I don't think we have very many guys like that in our program right now. And that's a credit to the players, their maturity and their parents and how they were raised. And, it's something that takes work. And there's not one of them that doesn't want to be in the starting lineup. I can tell you that, but how they handle themselves has been a big part of our success.
Final question. We'll go back to Greg.
How difficult would you say it is just to finish 500 in the Pac-12 year to year?
I think it's a lot more difficult than people think. And I think if you looked historically at some of the better programs, including this one, you would find out how difficult it actually is. And again, that's why you don't focus on that. You focus on what you need to do to be the type of team that you want to be. And then when you do that, you can play with peace of mind and, with the right recruiting, with the right health, with the right getting through the draft, you can put yourself on the right side of those. And over the last year and a half, we've done a really good job of that and want to continue to do a good job of that. But that is just totally about the play and treating everyone the same. And something we talk about is every single game, not just series, they all count the same at the end of the day. And so when you kind of look at it that way, then you can focus on what you need to do instead of getting to that point or even in a better point than that.
Great. Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right, questions for Chase Silsa, please raise your hand. We'll start with Michael Lev.
Hey there, Chase. So New Mexico and Arizona are right next to each other, but you did not take a straight path from one to the other. How would you describe your journey from high school to where you are now?
Ooh. So, out of high school, after I graduated, I kind of took a path out east to the SEC, played for the University of Tennessee. Had a great time there. Just one of those things there for me there. I wasn't going to be the best player I could be in this game. And I'm always wanting to improve and find something to be better at this game, because the game is always testing you in different ways, humbling you. So for me, my mindset is just wanting to get better at something. And there just didn't seem in my heart was the right place for me to be to do that. So for me, kind of transferred from there, went to a junior college in Nevada called College of Southern Nevada. Had a great fall there and started having some college talks. And pitching coach said, "How would you like to, go to University of Arizona?" I said, "Oh, it's always been a dream school of mine, stuff like that and everything. I would love it." He's like, "I'm good friends with the pitching coach and Coach Eschke. And, it's a big name in college baseball." So I knew who it was. And Garantano had good things to say about Coach Johnson. So, I was definitely feeling it. And then I got a call from Coach Eschke and then Coach Johnson next. And then he came and watched me, and I was out on a visit there. Loved it. It was an awesome visit, well organized, prepared, and everything. And I just all about it and committed on the spot, which brings me to where I am today. So it was the flaws of them being prepared, is just knowing that I was, this is the place.
Sure. Where does your competitive streak come from, do you think?
So I have three siblings. I have an older brother and two younger sisters. And, we're always with my brother, when he was in high school and I was younger, we're always trying to beat each other in something, wrestling, video games, board games. We still get into it in the board games. I don't know if you ever heard of that Settlers of Catan, but but I think just, those siblings that we push each other in our family. And I think that's where it comes from. And I'd say that's where, yeah. So.
How much older is your brother than you?
He is 26 years old. So he's 6 years older than me.
6 years older. Okay. Were you trying to hang out with him and his crew of guys when you were younger? Was that something that was like of interest to you?
Oh, huge interest. I was always going to their practices that they had. I'd practice with them. When I was like 10 years old and they were like 15, they're chucking it everywhere, and I was in a double play and they didn't hold back. They were throwing it as hard as they could at me. I'm stopping the balls, getting in front of balls, and they were just like, how are you even doing this? And I just like, I want to be like you guys. I want to be like my brother. And so it was just one of those things that I just kind of grew up with some good people pushing me. And, in a small town like Farmington, everyone kind of pushes each other.
And who would you say was the biggest influence on your baseball career as a youth?
Definitely my brother. Just looking up to him, him being in his recruiting junior as well. He was committed to Campbellsville University in Kentucky. And then, you know, it's one of those stories, you never know who's watching you play. He's always playing hard. And then he ended up playing hard one time, and a scout called, actually, you know, who were playing this weekend, called the University of Utah and said, I got your shortstop, and he watched him play and he did good. And that's where he ended up going. So just watching him, how he worked at the game, his craft, his energy that he brought was a perfect, and he lived in my house, and it was a perfect influence to look at. So he's one of the biggest influences, and I still gain influences on how college hitters like to hit, because he was at this level at once and still trying to gain knowledge from him.
Next question, Brian Savick.
Yeah, Chase, are there any experiences or things that you learned during your time at Tennessee and at Southern Nevada that help you prepare for your current tenure at Arizona?
Yeah, so, you know, each year I've just kind of grown to learn more. Kind of my freshman year, you know, coming out of high school, I was like 6 foot, like 240 pounds and stuff like that. So kind of there, I kind of learned how the experiences I went, learned how to eat, take care of my body nutritionally, and how to work out and things like that. And that's kind of the biggest thing I took out of there. And then obviously the humbling, playing in the SEC and Division I baseball is a lot different. And that's when I'm, you know, coming from high school with how my body was and how I didn't work hard in high school. That's what asked the change right there. That's when I thought in my heart, like, yeah, I want to improve at this game. And right, this isn't the place for me in the game wise, but taking care of my body wise, it was perfect. And then I went to the College of Southern Nevada, and then that's when I started learning new terminology, because Coach Gidge over there, being good friends with Yeski, he knows a lot. He knows a lot of pitching coaches in pro ball. That's when I started learning new terminology about the things with rotation in the hips and hip mobility and all that stuff. So there I kind of learned more things off on the field. And then here is just putting those two together with Coach Yeski, with what he's preaches, that, you know, you got to be an elite person off the field to be an elite person on the field. So taking care of your stuff, recovery, sleep, homework, getting things that need to be done earlier, translate to, you know, good preparation on the field.
Next question, Matt Moreno.
Kind of on a similar note, a lot of work goes into becoming and remaining the Friday night starter. How much do you just value and maybe even enjoy the process that comes along with being that guy at a place like Arizona?
You know, it's awesome being, you know, at a Pac-12 school Friday night starter, but in my eyes, you know, I earned it. But, you know, it's just really not in my mind, you know, it's just my mind is being ready, being prepared, as anybody, in helping people be prepared as things go on, because this is a team. I just want to put my team in a good position to win. Even if that wasn't the Friday night, if I, you know, I just still would push the other people that need to be pushed and everything like that. So, you know, just, I mean, it's awesome, but we're a team and we prepare as a team.
Next question, back to Michael.
What do your parents do for a living?
My dad is a chiropractor, and then my mother is kind of like a secretary for San Juan College, is a little community college in Farmington.
Okay. What is Farmington, New Mexico like?
So it's down like 50,000 people, 2 high schools, kind of, you know, kind of reminds me of here a little bit, but a little smaller. So, you know, it kind of looked like home to me, so I wanted to come here as well. But, you know, everyone kind of almost knows each other, hang out, push each other. It's a community. And, you know, it's kind of has one main street basically that you kind of go off of, and then other thing kind of spreads throughout the town, things like that. But the one thing about Farmington that's really cool is that Connie Mack World Series that they host every summer. To be the host of that is what makes the kids in that town kind of dream and aspire to be. And that place is perfect for that, because, you know, looking at those players, and I was a host family in one of those, and being able to host some people like Eric Hosmer, Cameron Maben, Matt Harvey, and some more people to come who stayed at my house, and I got to know them on a personal relationship. It's just awesome for that town.
Interesting. Did you ever play in that tournament?
I did. I played 3 years of it, and then with the Midland Redskins that I actually hosted. That's the team we hosted every time. And their coach said, you know what, I was a bat boy for him, and they said, you're going to play for me one day. And so, I played for him and was able to win three in a row. So
Nice, very nice. So you described how you were maybe not in great shape coming out of high school, and Jay keeps talking about how when they had all these conditioning drills here in the fall, you would win all of them. So how did you go from, maybe being a little bit overweight to a guy who's like winning every one of these competitions?
just the experiences you have in life, and coming face to face with them, wanting to get better. You got to go through those experiences to know where you're like failing at, and to know where you want to get better at. And when I went to Tennessee, like I said, with that nutrition and learning the real aspect of weightlifting and conditioning, is when I took it upon myself. And there's this guy, when I go home, I work out with him all the time. He pushes me, and we go out and run hills. We run 7 miles in the hills. We kind of just push each other into the dirt hills and everything like that. I work out with him. So, it's just the experiences in life that made me realize like I want to be better. And that's kind of what's happened. And it kind of reflects on the work I put on the field as well.
Sure. One last thing for you. What impresses you the most about Jacob Berry and Daniel Susak?
They're probably, in 3 years in this game, they're probably one of the best hitters I've seen, especially as a freshman coming in, and the poise that they have at the plate, not looking to do too much, just looking to drive the ball. And then the bat just comes off, the ball comes off their bat, just insane. When up there, when they're up there at the plate, you just know something, they're going to grind something, and they're going to, more often than not, be successful in that. And then just the way that when they do fail, they get back up and cheer on their teammates. And then, because, it's not over, we still got a game to do. And then they have good short memories. So just in case they do bad, they're able to go up their next at bat and just compete at a high level as well. So, just their poise that they have, and, they already seem like juniors on how they carry themselves around the team as well. So they're just awesome teammates. And then, they work hard and grind at their craft, and it shows out there.
Great. Thank you, Chase. We'll be right back with Jacob Berry. All right, we're going to finish up with Jacob Berry. If you have questions, please raise your hand. We'll start with Greg Hansen.
Hey, Jacob, how important was your dad in your development as a ball player?
My dad was very important in the development as a ball player. I think the reason he was so important to me is more because he didn't really force it on me. He really kind of introduced it as a game to me, and he never made it more than a game. And I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, because I actually grew to love it instead of it being kind of forced upon me and I had to just do it as kind of a thing. So I think that was the biggest aspect of my dad influencing me.
Did you grow up in Page?
I did, a little small town in Page.
What kind of opportunities in youth baseball did you have up there?
So I played Little League growing up all the time, T-ball, and then machine pitch, and then Little League. But my parents made a big effort to actually increase my chances of getting better at baseball by making trips down to Phoenix and playing on a club team on Sandlot and a few other teams growing up.
So you spent a lot of time on a freeway, huh?
I did. A lot of time on the road.
Was your dad a switch hitter as well?
He was not. He made me that way just because he had a hard time hitting a breaking ball. So that was the reason, at least, behind me becoming a switch hitter at a young age.
Next question, Michael Love.
So we've heard a lot about Chase Silsa's competitive streak. How do you see that? How have you experienced that? Is it in pitcher-batter interactions? Do you anything in the clubhouse during practice?
He's been a great teammate throughout the year in the clubhouse, off the field, everything in that sense. But I think when I see his competitive nature is when he actually has failed. So he hasn't done it very often, but every time that he has had a hard time or a little bump in the road, he bounces right back. He's a great competitor. He doesn't let one failure, multiple bad inning or anything shake him very much. He'll come back out and he'll be right back on the ball the next inning. Nothing really phases him.
Sure. Is that a difficult thing to learn? It seems like you and your classmate Daniel Susak are pretty good at it too, but I imagine that it's not easy.
I would say we're doing better as the seasons went along. I think we all have got to learn and improve as the years goes on and as our careers increase, I guess. But I think we do a fairly well job of containing ourselves and staying within the team instead of becoming selfish and worrying about our individual success.
Sure. Do you and Daniel compete with each other at all? Do you ever look at your numbers or anything like that?
Not so much numbers, but we do play some ping pong, and those are usually some fun games.
Who's better at ping pong between the two of you?
Obviously me, but
Next question back to Greg.
The first time you got a look at High Corbett Field, could you have imagined you could hit 11 home runs halfway through your freshman season?
I've never really thought about the home run thing. I think I talked about it the last time I was on this. I'm never really worried about hitting home runs. I'm just trying to have good at bats and barrel the balls. And I guess it's been a plus that I've hit 11 home runs this year so far.
How many did you hit in high school?
I don't think that many.
Not double figures?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Next question, Brian Savick.
Yeah, Jacob, who are some, just being a young freshman on the team, who are some of your biggest mentors that really had a big influence on you, really help you like confidence-wise?
I would say there's not one individual on our team, which I think makes our team really good. It's all the upperclassmen have welcomed all the freshmen and younger players with opening arms this year, and it's been amazing. I've always heard stories of players in the past where the upperclassmen never got along with the freshmen, but this is the exact opposite. Every upperclassman wants the underclassmen to succeed as much as the underclassmen wants them to succeed. So it's really a good team effort in that sense. So I would say everybody on the team is pulling for one another. I think that's why we've had so much success this year.
Do we have any more questions for Jacob? Yes, Michael, go ahead.
Have you noticed that pitchers are pitching you any differently now than maybe they were at the beginning of the season?
Yes, that's actually a topic of interest that I've grown and learned from, at least as the season's progressed. And I've talked with our coach Jay Johnson and Coach Wanaka, and they've just helped me with plans and kind of moving forward into succeeding and just being more of a complete hitter and a complete player instead of just being a one-dimensional hitter.
So are you seeing more breaking balls, maybe fewer balls over the middle of the plate?
I think I'm seeing a mix of everything this year. I think I have a very simple swing along with a lot of hitters here, and that allows us to hit a lot of pitching. And I think they're trying to find different ways to get me out. So I see a lot of different pitching from weekend to weekend, it seems like. And the more we play, it seems like the more and more sporadic it would be, or how not very similar the pitching is every weekend.
So you obviously came in here with a good foundation as a hitter, but what would you say is maybe the number one thing that you've learned from being in this system with Jay and with Coach Wanaka about hitting?
I would say the most important thing I think I've learned this year is actually to just see the ball and have a little bit better plate discipline. I feel like my swing hasn't changed too much since I've been here, but it's more of the approach and seeing the ball and being able to manage my at-bats more, because everybody's talented here and everybody has a great swing. It's who can do it more consistently and who can swing at great pitches.
One more thing about Daniel, what impresses you the most about the season that he's had so far?
That he's doing it all as a catcher. I'm very amazed at the player he is. He's a very talented player, and I look forward to playing with him for the next few years. So I'm excited.
One last call for questions for Jacob. All right, thank you, everybody. That's all we have for today.